welcome to Mom Squad. I'm Maureen Kyle, and this is a show where we focus on you as a parent, how you're raising your kids, and everything else life throws at us. And whenever we start a new year, whether you admit it or not, many of us set new goals. But what always gets in the way of those goals? Obstacles. On today's Mom Squad, we sit down with a motivational speaker, Cicely Campbell. She has a lot of great advice. She gives talks and mentors people who are overcoming challenges to create a better life. And today, she talks about whether your goal is big or small, how to overcome those challenges. So Cicely, every time we hit the new year, people feel like, okay, this is the year. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do whatever it is that I have been meaning to do. Maybe it's get that job or get out of a situation that I don't like. Maybe it is even as little as I'm gonna lose that weight and get healthy. But it seems like a lot of people feel that they're stuck or that there's obstacles in the way. How do you start to, you go around and you speak about this. Why is it that we feel like, okay, maybe this is the restart and then, but gosh, the cards are stacked against me?
Right. Well, I think, society tells us new year, new you, but it's really not that simple. You really have to define your goals specifically for yourself, and then you have to really do the work yourself. And, they say that habits take 21 days or like 3 weeks to form. That's a long time to really dedicate to something. So you kind of lose that motivation. So it's a very jarring task, especially kind of in the 21st century when everything is just immediate results. So you might say, yeah, I'm gonna lose the weight, but the second day in the gym, you find excuses around you in regards to, oh, I can't do this. Because that kind of just hints towards the fire inside of you wasn't burning that brightly. That really wasn't the real goal that you set out to accomplish. That was maybe just a cover-up of something else. So you really have to find what is it intrinsically inside of you that really motivates you.
That's interesting. I never thought about that maybe we might be focused on the wrong end goal. So then how do you recommend, because I know you work with a lot of women, how do you recommend finding what is that goal? What kind of insight do we need to sit down with ourselves and find where that goal, or what is that true goal that we want to achieve?
Yeah, and you also spoke about women kind of feeling stuck, and I think that's part of it too. Women, we're natural nurturers. We tend to take care of everyone but ourselves. So it's really difficult for us to define sometimes who we really are. Men have no issues rattling off all their successes. I'm this, I'm that. Women tend to define themselves as others see them. So we have to start the process of who am I? What do I like? Who am I to the core? Really, what makes me happy? And it's very hard for women to define. We say, list 10 things you like about yourself. Women, that is such a hard task for women to complete. And they often start to talk about, well, my kids say this, or my husband says this. It's like, no, what do you say about yourself? Because we're kind of taught to place ourselves on the back burner. So we have to kind of just build our confidence to say, no, I am worthy, I am enough, my goals matter, and then kind of really define those goals. And I also say, find your tribe, right? Find your support system who won't break you down, but build you up. And that's really, really important.
Things like finding a new job, or maybe, moving to a different community or something. Sometimes those have really tangible obstacles. I mean, those are it could be financial, it could be, I want to go back to school and get this degree, but I don't have the money, so there's the excuse. When it is something that is more than just the confidence, where do you recommend people start to get over that obstacle?
I always say the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. So for instance, if it is going back to school, right? That's a very lofty goal. But clap for yourself when you just put the application in. Like break down each task very small and reward yourself and honor yourself that you are making those steps, making that progress to do those things. If it is moving from a different city, right? That is very overwhelming, packing everything. But just take one box at a time, take one room at a time, and just congratulate yourself at each small victory. And I also say, write things down. Because when you're busy with so many goals and competing priorities, it's easy to get lost and think, I've accomplished nothing today. But when you actually write those things down, and I firmly believe in the power of the check mark. So at the end of the day, I can kind of review my to-do list, and I'm like, oh, I actually had a very productive day. And that provides me motivation to, check that thing off. Well, let me add one more thing to my to-do list. So then, throughout the day, I see all of the progress that I've made. And it helps me to kind of move past whatever was hindering me.
Yeah. I was going to say, you talked before about like the 3-week breaking the habit. I've always heard that too. And we always, news stories talking about New Year's goals. We always do the statistic stories saying, oh, well, it's February, everybody fell off of their goal. And so I was going to ask you about writing down. Do you think there's any difference between like digital, like putting something in an app, or do you think there's a power of journaling? And is there a difference there?
So I think they both add value. And you have to do what's best for you and what works well for you. So someone might be, just journaling notes in their phone because it's easy access. Some others might write things down. Me personally, my penmanship is not the greatest, so I will get frustrated, kind of just journaling, because I'm like, what did I say? What does this even say? So I do have notes in my phone. One thing I'll also say is there's definitely power in the tongue. So, be very conscious of what you think, because what you think becomes your words, and your words become your action. I often say that my team around me, I have conversations with myself, and I'll just admit that. And I have full-blown conversations with myself where I'm answering my own questions. I'm talking in third person. And my team knows, because they've been around me long enough to know when I'm talking to them, when I'm talking to myself. Like, it's a whole thing in the office. But the one teammate actually called me out on it. And she said, you do so much to empower other women, but I hear you in here talking bad about yourself. I was not aware of it at all. She says, yeah, you go, come on, Cicely, you know this. What's the problem? Why are you doing it like this? Literally talking to myself and calling myself names. And I wasn't aware of it until she brought it to my attention. So, even though I can be that empowering force to other people, I was downgrading my own self. So to change that and to pivot from that, I intentionally went to TJ Maxx or Marshalls or something and bought the little motivational placards, and they're all around my office, kind of just to stay in the moment and kind of just keep myself empowered as well, because I can't pour from an empty cup.
And most people probably, if they walked past that in TJ Maxx and saw, seize the day or you got this type of placard, they might think, oh, that wouldn't really help. Does that?
No.
Does that make a difference?
It definitely helps. And here's another thing. So I don't know much about, I always say, I'm a social worker by trade. So the math and science in high school was not my strong suit. However, I remember in a science class when you learn about the protons and neutrons, right? They're all floating around. I'm a very visual learner. So there are power outlets in every room that you walk into. So to your point about do they really help, you have to surround yourself with the positive energy. It's so easy for us to gravitate towards the negative stuff, those negative neutrons, but those protons are floating around as well. We just gravitate toward negative stuff. So my visual aid is kind of when I start to feel myself going on a downward spiral, I look for a power outlet in the room. And that just reminds me that there's positive stuff around there as well. So to your question, yes, those visual aids, those placards, whatever they say, those little motivational messages, they do work because they recenter you and kind of help you focus on the positive things that are going on around you versus the negative stuff. We can transition any conversation and to make it sound more positive as well.
The fact that you go around and you speak as the expert about being able to take these leaps and bounds and overcoming obstacles, and the fact that you still talk negatively about yourself and you need to have these reminders, it makes me feel better.
Yeah,
and it should make everybody feel better that, okay, we all have this voice in our head that tells us, no, you can't do it, or you're not doing what you need to do.
Very much, very, very much so.
Yeah.
So I say that we all feel stuck. And the thing is that we might feel we're the only one in our situation. So I think one of the reasons that makes me a successful leader or makes me a subject matter expert is because I come in and I tell my truth as well, right? Because we are all in this world together. No one is supposed to survive alone. It's just trying to find, again, your tribe who can relate to your situation. And there's power in that as well, because you realize you're going through this too. You had that same thought. You were struggling with that. I didn't want to say anything about it. But now that I know that you've gone through a similar situation, how did you do it? Can we do it together? Can we be each other's accountability partner? You know, different things of that nature.
It's so interesting because as you bring that up, I think about all the times we talk, especially recently, within the past decade, about the trend to make everything look perfect, you know, on Instagram and all these other social media platforms where we have this pressure to make it look like, well, I have it all together and I have all that, but we're noticing that the admitting to I don't have it together actually makes us more connected.
Absolutely.
And then we find those people to help motivate us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's power in that admittance as well. So yeah, I definitely encourage people to be their true, authentic self. It's something that I've been working on kind of through the years. And you know, through that process, I've grown. And I say you have people for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I acknowledge when I'm no longer in someone's season because they've outgrown whatever the situation might be. But yeah, you have to kind of just stay positive in regards to who you're around, what you allow into your mind, and how you work to make yourself better.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like my friends and I talk about the ebbs and flows of relationships, but to think of it as a season, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
When you go and you speak to groups, I'm sure you get a lot of feedback afterwards, or you can see where something has really hit home with somebody. What is that? What kind of feedback do you get? What is it that you think most people need to hear or they're struggling with that they need that advice?
I think the feedback is in the eye contact. I can tell by their body language when we've connected. I can tell, you know, by something I've said, they've experienced the same. Quite frankly, there's often tears sometimes because it's breakthrough. Because, you know, sometimes we're shunned not to talk about certain things. And like you said, we're just social media kind of only post the positive stuff. But again, I wanted people to know there's power in the not so positive stuff. Because it means how resilient you are in that regard, and that you've made it through whatever the situation is, so you can move forward, and there's strength in that, and there's power in that. So I just want people to know that as well.
And I'm sure you encounter in your work a lot of people who have overcome what seems like the impossible.
Absolutely.
Where do you know, some of our New Year's goals might sound frivolous compared to like what a lot of people are going through, and if those, you know, if people who really have the cards stacked against them can get over whatever they need to get over and move forward, I always feel like that is so motivational. Do you see those very difficult situations consistently, and where people are able to dig themselves out?
Very much so. So I'm a social worker by trade.
Yeah.
So I always say I know a lot of people's innermost thoughts, right? And kind of when people come in, when visitors come into the office and they shut the door, I almost can predict how the conversation is going to go, but I have to intentionally be respectful and engage them, because this might be the first time that they felt secure enough or felt, trusting me with the information. However, the last 5 people who came through my office shared a similar story. So I definitely realized that I just want people to emphasize, we are not alone. There is somebody who shares your story or shares similar aspects from your story. And then if there's nothing in the story that you can relate to, which is typically not the case, like you said, it's motivational. Like, well, they've gone through all of this, I can handle this. And that itself is a motivation in itself.
So that just shows, should people go and seek out a community of the people, like, don't go through whatever you want to go, whatever you're trying to get out of, like whatever goal it may be, small or big, do we find that community of people who have either gone through it or are going to go through it?
Yes, I think there's power in the community. This might be off tangent, but also I remember during one of my childhood psychology classes where they said kids were left in an orphanage, right? And they never got the touch or feel of other people. And they didn't survive because it is intricate to who we are that we share community with others. And we've seen it through the pandemic in regards to people kind of just like being by themselves. So it's very important that people seek community. Also, I'm a big proponent of counseling or therapy, but not even that. Find the expert. So whether it's the life coach, a financial coach, a job coach, I have all of those in my circle.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to kind of just bounce ideas around with other people who are professionals and who you can trust.
Yeah. Before I let you go, is there any part of your speech that you think our viewers should hear? Any sort of advice that you would have for them just headed into the new year?
Yep. So one thing that typically holds everybody back is fear of failure. And I often ask, do you know what's on the other side of failure? Life.
Yeah.
Everything. And you'll never know if you never take that leap. So it's okay to jump. It's okay to step forward, and you might, take a couple steps back. But if you never make the initial jump or step, you'll never know what the possibilities could be because you never tried. Yeah. So surround yourself with the positive people and positive things. Find your tribe, and then just, take the leap. And, maybe not leap. Take one step forward, one step at a time. Again, you cannot, the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time.
I love it. I'm going to be thinking of that all through 2024. Cicely, thank you so much. This was awesome. This was really great.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you again to Cicely Campbell for her insight and advice. And thanks to all of you for tuning in to Mom Squad. I hope that as you go through the next several weeks, you are able to set those goals for yourself and achieve the things that you thought would be impossible. And we'll see you right back here next time on Mom Squad.